Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is on how to cut and sew this beautiful Milkmaid 180-degree flare gown with right hand slit. And if this sounds like something you're interested in, ensure to keep on watching and let's get started. We'll start with drafting the pattern. The measurement needed to make this dress will be on the screen right here. I went on to draw the lines and I'm just going to label it. This will be the shoulder line, which is SL. This is the chest line as CL, and this is the bust line as BL, and this is the under bust line. Then the last one is the waistline, and to this side, this is the center front and this is the side front. And I'll just label this part as the front and this other side is the back. So on the back line, this is the shoulder line for the back, this is the chest line, and this is the waistline for the back. So if you've been following my videos very well, you should know how I got this. So I measured from the shoulder line to the chest line 8 inches, bust line 10.5, to the under bust line 14 inches, waistline 18 inches, to the back shoulder line to the chest line 8 inches, to the waistline is 16 inches, 2 inches difference from the front and back waistline. I'll start imputing our horizontal measurement. From the center front, I'll come in by 7 inches for the shoulder and drop 1 inch for the shoulder slant. I'll extend the shoulder width measurement to the chest line and mark it there, which is 7 inches. Then I'll roll it up like this. And then from the center front, I'll come in by 3 inches for the neckline. And I'm just going to mark it there and then slant the shoulder like this. Let's impute our darts. From the center front, I'll come in by 4 inches. That's the nipple to nipple measurement. That's the bust palm measurement. And I'll draw up the line like this. So for the dart intake, I'll be using 0.5 inches. So I'll take 0.5 inch on both sides on the waistline like this. And I'll connect it to the bust line. I'll come in by 2 inches on the shoulder line like this, or you can decide to divide what you have there by 2, and I'm just going to connect it like this to this point. On the chest line, I'll impute the round bust measurement, which is 36 divided by 2, which gives us 9 inches, and to the armhole area, I'll divide what I have there by 2, which is 3.5 inch, and I'll come in by 0.75 inch or 0.5 inch and then connect it like this. The waistline measurement we are working with is 28 divided by 4, which gave us 7 inches plus 1 inch dart intake. That's 1 inch there. So I'm just going to mark it as 8 inches. So from the bust line, I'll come down by 2 inches. That's the difference between the front and back waistline, 2 inches here. So we'll be using it for our side bust darts. So I'll connect it just like this to the nipple point. So from the shoulder, I'll come down by 7 inches, or you can decide to use 6.5, 6 inches, depending on how deep you want your cleavage to be reviewed. So I'll mark this and connect it just like this. Before we mark the neckline, let's tighten the underbust. The underbust measurement I'm working with is 29 divided by 4, which gave us 7.5. So we have 1 inch left there. I'm just going to share it on this dart leg, half inch on both sides, and then I'll connect it downwards and upwards like this. So you don't need to actually tighten the underbust for this particular design. So I'm just going to connect it from that point to this point just like this. So I'll use the curve to do this. I'll connect it from the underbust line, that's the dart line, to the chest line just the way I am placing it. And after connecting it, I'm just going to blend up to that point that I marked when I am done. So I'm just going to close the side dart first before going ahead to connect the side bust area. So I went ahead to blend up that part and then go ahead now to just open up that area for it to relax better. So after opening it up, this is how it is, and we need to just connect it to that point. So on the chest line, I'll come in by 1.5 inches or 1 inch depending on your size, and I'm just going to connect it to the underbust just like this. I went on to actually blend up that place like I said. So for the neckline, you can decide to make it to the dart leg, or just connect it to the dart line like this that I did earlier before my camera cuts me out. So you can decide to connect it like this, or you can just come in from the shoulder dart line by 1 inch and then connect it to the neckline just the way I did here by 1 inch and connect it like this. At this point my camera filmed in portrait form instead of landscape form, so this is what I did here and went ahead to cut it out. So this is the 1 inch I came in from the dart leg and connected to the shoulder like this, and then this is what I cut out for now, and I'll just go ahead to complete the cutting. So I went on to label my patterns again so I won't mix it up, and I'm just going to tape down the front parts like this. I don't want any dart line on it, so I just want to tape it down like this before going ahead to cut on fabric. So for the bust area, I'm just going to divide what I have there by 3 like this and then slash it like this. So it's just going to be in a slash and spread method. So I'll cut it out like this, ensuring that I put the arrows that will help me to indicate where I am cutting and how to join it as well. So this is it here, and to the back, this is the center back and this is the side back. So from the center front, I'll come in by 7 inches on the shoulder line and I'll mark it there, and then I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slant. So I will extend the 7 inches I marked to the chest line like this and connect it in a straight line, just the same thing we did for the front area. So after connecting it like this, I will impute our neckline, which is 3 inches from the center front, and slant the shoulder and then just make it more visible. And after this, on the chest line, I'll impute our bust measurement. I'll divide what I have there on the armhole area by 2, which is 3.5, and then I'll come in by 0.5 or 0.75 inch and then connect it like this. So on the back waistline, I'll impute our round waist measurement there, which is 28 divided by 4, which gave us 7 inches. And I'll just mark it like this. There won't be any dart at the back. So on the center back, I'll come in by 0.75 inch and then I'll slant it upwards like this, and then go ahead now to mark how I want the neckline for the back to be. So for the back neckline, I'm just going to come down from the shoulder by 6 inches, 6.5, depending on how deep you want it. So I'll be using 6 inches for this. So I'm just going to make it up in a straight line. So on the line I just drawn, I'll come in from the center back by 3 inches and connect it to the shoulder like this. So I'll go ahead to put 1.5 inches sewing allowance at the back and go ahead to also label it and cut it out. So these are the patterns I drafted. I'll go ahead now to transfer it to fabric. This is a beautiful crepe fabric I'll be using. It is a pattern crepe, so I'll use this fabric for it, and then this is it here when I transferring it to fabric. I went on to add the necessary allowance around it, and also to the side I added 1 inch allowance, and this is it here when I cut it out. I also cut out lining and interfacing for it, that's stay. So this is the front, that's the bust area. I cut out 4 pieces because I want to use the same fabric to lining the bust area. I spread it by 2.5 inches on this side and 2 inches on the down part like this. I notched that part to be able to note the center front, and I didn't notch the side front. So I'll go ahead to iron all of this, and we'll start with the shoulder part. So I've ironed the stay to the fabric like this, and I'm just going to open it up and go ahead to place the lining on it, front facing front, and I'm just going to sew along that edge and also to this other side. And this is it here when I was on sewing it. I pressed down the seams, and for the bust area I'm just going to bring it in. I iron interfacing on one side, then the lining don't have any interfacing. So this is the notched part of the center front, and I'm just going to ruffle it there. That's making gathers on it around there. Likewise on this other side of the bust area, and this is it here when I was done sewing it. So I'm just going to draw up the gathers like this and do the same thing for this other side before going ahead to sew it to the dress. So this is the front piece that I brought in. This is the notched part for the bust area. So this is the bust that I just gathered. So this is the front part where I notched. So I'll ensure that the notched part is facing the front part, and I'm just going to sew it all the way like that. And also to this other side, I'll ensure the front is facing the front area. I'm just going to stitch it all the way like that to this end, and also from this other side I'll stitch it like this and to that end also. So this is it here. When I was done sewing it, this is how it looks. So I'll bring in the shoulder part for the front. This is it here, and I'm just going to stitch it like this to this end. I'll just secure them with my pin and then go ahead on my sewing machine to sew it. So this is it here. When I was done sewing it, I'll go ahead now to loosen that part because I want to pass the rope in between that end. So I loosed about 1.5 2 inches there. So I'll bring in the lining piece, and it's the same thing on the lining piece. So I'm just going to place it like this, front facing front, and I'm going to sew there while the shoulder area is inside. I'll just sew like that, and to this other end I'll sew the same thing using 1/2 inch or 0.5 inch. This is it here when I was done sewing it. So this is how I hem the remaining part, just like that, inside waist. So to pass the rope there, we're just going to sew about 1/2 inch or 0.75 inch like that on this place. So we're just going to sew it around there to the end and to this other side like so. And this is the rope that I made, is about 32 inches or thereabout. So after making those rope is about 32 inches, so I'm just going to use my safety pin to pass the rope inside after making the cage or the passage like that. So I'll pass it like this to get to the armhole area. So after it gets to the armhole area, I'll just bring it out and stitch down that part. I'll just sew down that part. The same thing I'll do for the other side. So this is it here. When I was done passing the rope in between, I'm just going to tie it and keep it aside. So this is the back part. Let's work on it. So I'm just going to bring in the lining piece, and this is it here. So we're just going to open it up like this and face the lining to it, front facing front. So I'll go ahead to sew the neckline area and this other neckline area like this. And after turning the neckline, I went ahead to top stitch the side back and the center back as well. So this is the front part. I'm just going to join it shoulder to shoulder. I'll use the back shoulder to turn the front shoulder just like this, that I'm placing it, and stitch that end. Same thing I'll do for the other side. And this is it here when I was done stitching it. This is how neat it looks. So I'll go ahead now to keep it aside to cut the down part. So I'll bring in the remaining fabric that we have. This is it here. So I'm just going to fold it in a funnel form, like in a funnel shape. So what you need to do is to take one end and place it to the other end, just the way I am placing it right here. Let it match up with this other end, and then we'll go ahead to arrange it and cut it. So from that top end, I'll mark 22 inches downwards, and I'll just mark it in a circle form like this. This is the waist measurement divided by 2 plus 2 inches allowance that we use for the front slit and also for the back allowance. So after cutting the top part, I need to cut out the length for this gown. So just measure what you have remaining after removing your waist measurement. That's your shoulder to waist measurement. So from the top end, I'll drop the shoulder to waistline measurement for this dress. That's 18 inches, but I'll drop 17.5 inch. 1/2 inch is to stitch it to the upper part. So the full length for this dress is about 54 inches. That is because I am quite tall, so I had to use 55 inches for the length. So I'll mark it all the way to this other end and then connect it and cut it out. So pardon me, I used blue chalk on the blue dress. I don't have white chalk or any other color of chalk. So I'm just going to adjust this like this and just moving like 2 inches at that point. That will be the zip allowance for the back before slashing it open. So the flare we just cut now is 180-degree flare. That's how you're seeing it like this. That's half circle. So I'll just mark the 2 inches there and then slash open that end. The bigger part of the fabric will become the back, while the smaller part will become the front. So I'll keep the back part aside and bring in the front. So I'm just going to make the slit here, and to do that I'll get the center of this dress. notching that center, I'll come out by 3 inches for the side slit. So that's where I want my slit to be. I'll notch it, and then I'll make sure that 3 inches I just marked is giving me this look, or this straight look at that end. So I'm just going to know where I want my slit to stop. So I went on to pin it, and to mark it, I just dropped the waistline measurement and marked 35 inches there. So that's where my slit will stop. You can decide to make yours higher or lower, and this is it. When I was done stitching it, I'm just going to slash open that end. And this is it here. So for the back piece, I'm just going to bring it in now. I'll slash it open. I'll divide it by 2 and then slash it open, one for the one side of the back and the other side for the other side of the back. So I'll bring in the back upper bodice. I'm just going to place it like this, front facing front, noting where will be the center back and the side back as well. And I'll go ahead to stitch that end. I'll stitch it using 1/2 inch allowance. And this is it here. So I'll go ahead now to put the zip and show you what it looks like. This is it here. When I was done putting the zip, I'll go ahead now to do for the front part. So I'll bring the down part of the front. I'm going to place it front facing front, ensuring that the notched part is matching each other like this. And I'm going ahead to use 1/2 inch allowance to sew it all the way to the end. So this is it here when I was done sewing the front part, and I'm just going to join it now side by side. So I'm going to turn it and face the front and the back piece together like this and join it side by side using the allowance we gave for this dress. But before that, we need to put the sleeve. So this is the fabric that is remaining after cutting the fillet. So I'm just going to fold it this way and then go ahead now to cut the sleeve part. So from that top, I'll measure the length of the sleeve, which is about 20 inches, and I'll add 2 inches allowance for the elastic at the down of the sleeve. After this, I'll come in from the center sleeve by 2 inches, and then I'll come down by 4 inches and make it in a straight line. So I'm just going to make a curve around that area. This is the 4 inches that I marked. So I'll make a curve around that area just like this. Just shape it a little bit. The sleeve is not so fitted. Then I'll go ahead to cut it. So I'll go ahead now to notch that part. I'll notch it to know the center of the sleeve, and this is it for the sleeve. We're going to bring in the dress right now, and we're going to place the notched part on the shoulder line of the dress. I'll go ahead to sew along that sleeve part and to this other side as well. After attaching the sleeve, we need to now join the dress side by side. So I'm just going to use the allowance I gave for the dress to join it. I'll start with the sleeve area by 1/2 inch, and then to the armhole area I'll take in 1 inch and all the way to the down part. So before joining it side by side, you need to interlock your dress, but I did that at the end. And this is the dress when I was done stitching it side by side. It's already giving me this beautiful look. So after interlocking or weaving your dress, you need to hem that part of the dress. That's the down part, and also at the sleeve area you need to also put your elastic, pass your elastic in between. So I'll do all of this off camera, and this brings us to the end of the tutorial. If you enjoyed this video and you want more of it, ensure to like, share, and also leave a comment below for any question. Don't forget to subscribe so you'll be notified when I post new videos like this, and see you in my next video. Bye.